the bus. There's an alternate ending to this video, and it involves this. Hi, I'm Di with Sister Chicks Quilting, and welcome to my channel. I'm going to start out with a tale of woe. You see this wall behind me? There's nothing on it. So Tracy, April, and I, the three quilt amigas, decided we were going to make Christmas quilts with half square triangles. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I did the most intricate, let's see, how do you say that? Intricate, there you go, intricate. Oh my gosh, I can't even say it. Anyway, I did a really detailed design. And it was beautiful. I loved it. And I just jumped into it feet first, was just pounding through it. Yesterday, I realized I was not going to be able to finish it for our 6 o'clock deadline for this video. So I didn't scrap it. You're getting it next week because I need a whole nother probably 6 days on it. However, I had to have a quilt because I was not going to let Tracy get mad at me for blowing another one of our challenges. And it has to be made with half square triangles. And the rules are anything goes as long as there's half square triangles in it. And we're doing it for Christmas. So I started going through my fabric. I have to show you some of the fabric I've selected. This was a scrap. I only got 2 pieces from it. Isn't that darling? This is not a scrap, but there's a little bit of it. This is like a half yard. And I may throw this batik in. What do you think? With all that green, yes, you guessed it, I'm going to be doing a Christmas tree, but I really want some red in there. I have this left over from the backing of my scrappy trip around the world 4th of July quilt. So I'm going to use this red. I'm also going to lean on Eleanor Burns from Quilt in a Day because she has the Quilt in a Day square up triangle ruler. Here is the ruler. This instruction sheet teaches you how to make 8 half square triangles at a time. Since I am so far behind, I'm going to have to pull out all the stops and do that. So stick with me. I promise a really fun quilt. Oh, let me show you my design. You're going to die. I know this has been out there. This is it. It's right here. I was talking to a friend and she told me about this really cool Christmas tree quilt. And it had half square triangles in it. And I said, oh, tell me more, tell me more. She saw it in a magazine and it was made with this block. This is the block I'm using. It's a churn dash block. I think it's a cute block. And these are 3-inch half square triangles. I'm thinking this block could save my bacon. So I didn't start until 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday to make this because I had other work I had to get done. I stacked these up, made a Christmas tree, and oh my gosh, it has turned out so stinking cute. I also searched all over the internet. I found it finally in a magazine, in an old quilty? I found it in an old magazine. Just a picture of it, no patterns. I figured out my own sizes and put this together from that picture in the magazine. I think it's turned out absolutely darling. And I have to tell you, this block is so stinking much fun to make. I plan on doing a quilt, an old-fashioned quilt with really cool modern fabric, probably with this block. I think it's pretty nifty. Now, I don't have a pattern, but I think it's going to be logical enough that I'll be able to figure it out, and I am going to share all of the measurements I figured out with you. And something else, if this looks like it's going to be fun, now you know what kind of a quilter I am, right? A crazy fun quilter. So don't you want to retreat with me? Because I am going to host a retreat September 3rd through September 6th in Albion, Idaho. Everything is on my website, which is sisterchicksquilting.com. You can go in the store and buy your ticket, or you can click on the retreat tab and get all the information you need to about my retreat. sisterchicksquilting.com. Tickets are going fast, so I would love to quilt with you at my retreat because I'm kind of crazy and fun. And the food is good. All right, let's get started. So I am cutting 9-inch squares so I can make the 3.5-inch half square triangles. And guess what I did? I can't believe it. I love this piece that was in my scrap pile, and I blew it. Look at this, I cut the side off of it. What was I thinking? I was not paying attention. So this is going back into my scrap pile, darn it, and it's such cute fabric. There's my scrap drawer over there. I'm going to continue cutting. I have this Moda piece. Let me press it a little bit. I need a total of 8 squares, 8 of these 9-inch squares, because that will give me 64. I've got 4 already, so I guess 2 of each of these green will do. I'm just rough cutting these. That will give me 2 of that. I'm so bummed that I messed up that one piece. I'm telling you. Ask me how bummed I am. Really bummed. Okay, that should do it for this piece. And I think I can get, oh, I'm 1 inch short. I thought I could get 2 across that, but no, I can't. So I'm going to have to cut another piece of this Moda print. But I'm going to line these up, cut all 4 pieces at once, and make sure I do them correctly. No more mistakes here, okay? Here we go. Finally cutting away. And then I'm going to get my red pieces cut, my strips cut, and I am going to be stripping away. So if I were to go 5 and 15 or 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Here's my straight edge right here. Okay. This is straight along that side. I'm going to 9 inches, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because I don't want to mess up my fabric again. What I have here is my fabric, right sides to right sides. And I'm going to mark them up. This is how you make 8 half square triangles. Sure, you've seen it before, but maybe there's some of you who haven't. You'll think I'm a hero or a heroine for doing it this way, right? So I'm going to mark this from point to point, just like this. And I am going to mark all 8 of these. And by the way, I am using regular ink pen. The marking is actually going to be cut, so I don't care. I should use a pencil, but I don't have one up here. And I should probably use my heat disappearing ink, but I'm out of that. So yeah, kind of sucks, huh? But this will do. You don't have to be perfect to be a quilter. You just have to do the same thing over and over and over. You'll get better at it, and boom. Before you sew them, you may want to pop in a couple of pins so they stay set. Now, I'm not going to sew on this line. I'm going to sew to the side of this line. So I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on this side and a 1/4 inch on this side. Here I go. Now I'm going to sew these sides. I think it'll be probably a little faster if I chain sew them. I don't know, maybe it won't. I won't have to stop and break threads so many times. I'm going to show you how to cut these up. You don't have to put them on the center. I'm doing this so I don't mess up, so I don't wear out my lines as fast on this cutting mat. I'm just picking a line outside of the middle, and you take your ruler and you go right down the middle like this. So there is the middle, and you give it a slice. Then you turn your mat, go right down the middle again, like that, give it another slice. Then we want to give it one more slice on the angle, and we're going to slice the lines that we have actually drawn, like so. And yes, I know I'm not closing my rotary cutter. There you have 8. Look at that. And you just open one up, and there's your half square triangle. And they're all the same size. Now let me move on further to show you how the Quilt in a Day ruler works, because it's genius, and I use this for years and years and years until something else comes along. I want a 3.5 inch half square triangle. I made these too big, by the way. I should have, these are set, so I could have done them on the 4 inch triangle, but then I don't want a 4 inch half square triangle. I want a 3.5 inch square triangle. So I'm going to flip it over on the 3.5 inch line on this side. Can you see that line right there? And I'm going to line that line up right on the stitching line. So this is the stitching line, and this line is together. I'm going to give it a cut, trim it down, and I have a perfect 3.5 inch square triangle. I always can I'll just take off the dog ears right now, and there you go, ready to iron. Let me do one more so you can see. If you have any questions, again, line it up on the stitching line. Line the dotted line up, and it's dotted because I'm using the 1/2 inch, the 3.5 inch. Here's the other option. I can set the Quilt in a Day ruler aside, press open my half square triangle, and use my trim lock. Now the trim lock has got the stickum on the side, on the bottom, so it sticks onto your fabric. And occasionally, if I'm not pressing down hard enough, my Quilt in a Day ruler slides, but I could put some of the little dots on it to stop that from happening. Now this way, I just have 4 cuts. Get out of there, you crazy scraps. Okay, so if I lay the trim lock right on, there's a little line right here. So I'm laying it on, and I'm holding it down. Look at that. I'm going to turn it. Okay, so here's the deal. This mat is just a little bit sticky. That's why I like it for cutting the big triangles. But I'm going to set it aside and use my Slickery Dickory Fiskars mat. Watch what happens. You've seen me use the trim locks before, but that's 2 ways to trim up these half square triangles. You know what? I think I'm going to use the trim lock. I'm going to cut all of these, take them to the ironing board, press them, and the trim lock wins. But in the meantime, there we go. I have a few more of these to do. need to cut the center strips of my block. And if I've done my math right, I'll need about 36 inches. So I'm going to cut at 3.5 inches. Let's see. So I will need 2 strips of 3.5 inches. And I need it out of this as well. I'm going to use the selvage as the edge. I'm just going to get this as even as I can on this edge. And then I'm going to take the edge off. And I'm just going to kind of line up this selvage edge with the line on my cutting board. Cut in 1 inch because it's a little thick. I don't want to deal with that. And there I have a straight edge to work with, and I want a 3.5 inch strip. And let's see how long this strip is. 36 twice. I'm going to take 2 of these strips. I don't know, I'll probably have more than I need. But I can just put it in my scraps. So there's a second strip, and I just realized I'm going to need double on the white because I'm going to sew the white strip like this on both sides and then cut it in my 3-inch centers that I need. So I need to cut more of this. You know what? I have this in my head and I'm doing it as I go along. So I hope you're paying attention to the measurements. All right, I can always cut more if I need it. So what I'm going to do is take this to the sewing machine, sew this to this, and then put a strip on this side. And I'll be back with you when I'm done. I've pressed the strip and I've squared it off on the top. Going to cut 15 strips because I'm making 15 blocks. 3.5 inches is my magic number. Everything is 3.5 inches on this quilt, right? This is working up really fast. It'll probably take me an hour to sew up all of the blocks. Here's how you make a block. By the way, I cut some plain 3.5 inch strips. I cut 15 of these. Now each one of these has 2 in it. So this is what you do to make a block. Ta-da! Isn't that a cute block? I am just going to spend some time sewing up some of these blocks. I'm going to finish cutting all of these, set my piles out for construction, and chain stitch this together. I can see the most thing that I'm going to have to pay attention to is to make sure I get 2 going this direction and 2 going this direction. This is the only spot I can see that would mess up. What do you see in here? It's become a 9 patch. So it has 4 half square triangles. It has this one that stripped it, then these. So I'm going to go through, and the first thing I'm going to do is sew all of these together first like this. And you know I have more of these than I do these and these. We'll figure it out. I'm going to try and make them all different. I think it'll be really fun. I had these pressed to the dark side, and I changed them all so they would nest. And you know, I've got some really good fabric here. It's not showing through, so I'm happy with that. Everything is fitting perfectly because I did really good at cutting. Did I sew it wrong? Let me see. That goes that way. Oh no, I sewed it right. I wouldn't be in such a hurry if my other quilt would have not taken me forever and a day to complete. Next week you'll get to see what's happening. I'm going to finger press and sew because I'm kind of excited. They naturally want to go to this side. Let's put in a red one. Ooh, isn't that going to be a fun block? Oh my goodness. Can you tell that I'm getting so excited? Yeah, I think these blocks will go together fast. So nesting is definitely the way to go. I'm really glad that I changed that seam. And a little ta-da! Cute, cute block, don't you think? Here is the very last one. You know, my iron makes it so easy. Let's see, kind of messed that guy up. There we go. I just need to put that strip down the middle. It has the red in, and I'm gonna have 15 finished blocks before you can say lickety split. Look at this. They are all finished. They are pressed. They went together so easy. This is such a fast, fun, easy block. I'm even going to show you my back. Yeah, this is one that I unpicked and redid. So there's probably a bunch of extra threads because there's extra threads on the front. But no judging. I am not going to square them up. I could, but you know what? This whole quilt is just like out there, no pattern. I want to throw it up on the design wall. You want to see it? Okay. Oh my gosh, this is adorable. I think it is so stinking cute. And super, super fast and easy. I didn't know, and I couldn't even imagine what I was going to do with these sides. I knew I was going to do it somehow, but I can see what I have to do now. I'm going to sew the rows together, and then it looks like half of a block, which is 9, so it's going to be around 4 something inches. I'll figure it out, and I'll put that here, and this one will be a little bit wider. It will be double that one. This one will be triple, and this one will be 4 times that. So I will make a block that is as wide as this, bring it out, sew it on the end of the row so it comes down to here. Then I'll have a square quilt. And I can go from there. Do you guys think I should do a star? Should I? I don't know. I'm wondering if I ought to do a star on top. That might be fun. But you know what? It might take a lot of time too. I guess I could do... No, I'm not going to mess with it. It's just going to be a tree in the woodland forest. And then I had to put a little trunk on it. I think the trunk really, really makes it. It seemed like it was just kind of floating, you know, like a spaceship or something, or an alien ship. So I put the trunk on, and I feel like it weights it down. And I'll put a strip here and a strip on that side. Then I will frame the whole thing with white. It's really going to be a white quilt. However, my plan is to use some really cool green thread. My plan is to use some green thread, probably this green, to quilt it. And I'm thinking of quilting the outside of the tree in green thread, so it's not a tree standing in a white forest. You know, it's going to need something, a theme. I'll figure out what to do with the middle. We'll see. It's time to sew it together. Pulling the blocks one by one. I'm going to have to use pins because guess what, kids? There's points here. So this will take a little bit of time, but I've got it. Let's see how it looks sewn up. All right. Whoa. Not bad. Do you trust me enough to sew these up with pins? I think I can handle it. I would show you how I'm doing the ends. The first thing I did, and this ruler's here to hold it on my table so it doesn't go falling off, but this is the center right here. Do you see this pin I have? Little green head. And by the way, I centered the stem right inside these pieces here. It worked out good. I needed like 21 something inches and on each side, and I have this extra. So I'm going to take this ruler here, line it up with that, and I'm going to take this piece off. Then I'm looking at, I need a piece to go here. Let me pull this all down a little bit and give me some room here. So what I need is 4.5 inches, but I need to put a 1/4 inch on it for seam allowance here. So I'm going to do 4 3/4 inches this way, and I'm going to cut a piece that is the length or the width of this, which is 9 1/4. Let me write that down because I'll forget. There's no seams to match up, which is quite nice. Another part that will make this go super fast. I have it 9 1/4. And that's what this is, 9 1/4. That's amazing. I'm going to take off this piece. Since I'm not working with a pattern, I'm having to figure out each of these pieces on my own. Have no fear. I've written them down so I can share them with you if you want to make this, because I'm going to give you all of the measurements to make this quilt. This is how I did it. I lined the next block up or the next row up with the row below, right through the center here, and I'm down to the last one, which is just one block on top, and I've got it lined up where it goes on the center. It looks good. I'm going to leave it there. I'm just going to measure, and I'll come over, let's see, 18.5 inches. I'm going to check this side as well, and it's 18.5 inches. So I'm going to have to cut a strip with a 1/4 inch seam on it. So I will cut it 18 3/4 inch. Then I'm just going to sew it on and attach. I'll sew it on, I'll have a complete strip, and I'll attach the strip to the rest of the tree. And it will be done. I'm so excited. I actually had to cut 3 of these from the bolt of fabric that I'm using. They're 9.5 inches wide or long, and this is the width of fabric right here. So the first thing I want to do is take the selvage off. So I'm going to line this over to the edge of my cutting mat. Just make sure it's straight. You want to make sure you cut as straight as you can because it's going to be easier to quilt. Here are my 2 strips to put on the side of this block. I'm just going to take the block, pin it on. I'll sew this side on here, and then I'll sew this side on. I'm pinning this onto the quilt. It's centered, but it's longer on both sides. Look at that. And I figured out what I did. I was measuring from the 24 mark, not from the 1. So yeah, that will make a difference. So it may not be 18 inches, But when I write everything down, I'll put the correct measurement down. I can't believe I did that. Well, yes, I can. I'll just trim it off afterwards. I guess I don't have much of a choice. Thank goodness that it's too long and not too short, right? I love how it's turning out. I am going to take these edges off. And when you do, and you're lining them up with other things, use a longer ruler rather than a shorter ruler. A shorter ruler is not going to give you the lineup power that you need. So I'm going to use my full-on 24-inch ruler. We'll take that off, and I'll take this side off. I've decided to put a 3-inch white border all the way around this quilt. You could certainly do a printed fabric, but I'm going to stick with white because I have a special plan for all of the white negative space. And I had this 9-inch piece left over. Look at that. I didn't want to waste it, so I'm cutting it into thirds. I'm slicing it into 3-inch slices, and I will add that to the border that I need. I'll probably take a little bit off this piece here. I think 1/4 inch is what I'm going to be taking off. Yep, there it is. And that's a good use of fabric. I'm going to measure how much more I'll need all the way around. And I'm just going to sew this all the way around. I will be done, 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 done. Tracy's going to think I'm not going to come forth with a quilt. Just from my past behavior, though. She'll be surprised. I'm just going to be an ornament on my new Churn Dash Christmas tree. Isn't it darling? Ready? Drum roll. Ta-da! I love this quilt. So cute how it turned out. I think it's very lacy looking. It's not heavy. It was so much fun to make. It was so much fun turning these Churn Dash blocks into this tree. And I figured out several things along the way. I'm going to give you the measurement. I'll probably do it as a printable on my website, but it may not be there until Saturday. Guys, I've got a lot going on here. Don't forget, I would love to retreat with you September 3rd through September 6th in Albion, Idaho. The food is great, the lodging, the facility is awesome, and the company. You guys are the best. I'm going to have so much fun hosting all of you viewers. You are just the best. To register and to get information about it, check out my website, sisterchicksquilting.com. You can stop the bus. There's an alternate ending to this video, and it involves this. You will not believe my morning. Do you see the quilting on this? Okay, I woke up at 6 a.m. I was in my sewing room piecing the back. Take a look at the back. Can you see where it's pieced? Probably my matching piecing best success ever, but it's pieced on this back. And I had this on the long arm by 7 o'clock. It took me from 7 to 11 to totally finish this. I couldn't stand it. I had to conquer that white negative area. And I just threw up this panto design in it. It looks like an ornament to me. I really kind of like it. But notice what's in the trees. Stars. Yep. Baby stars all over the tree. We weren't supposed to finish the quilts. It was just supposed to be a top. But I just kind of couldn't leave it alone. Here it is. Here's a little story about the quilt. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go take a shower and put some makeup on and have a good rest of my day. I would like to thank everybody for watching this challenge with me. I had so much fun. You know, next week's quilt came out of this challenge, so you know what's in it. There are some half square triangles in it, like a lot of them. I hope to see you next week as well. But in the meantime, please subscribe to my channel. If you're watching it, you really should be a subscriber, right? Isn't that how it works? Hey, thanks everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the thread is green because this is a Christmas tree. Now there's stars in the tree and this fun design, very modern, but it looks like a little Christmas ornament to me. I think this turned out really good. I'm so glad I did it. I was really concerned about all of this negative space, and I didn't want it just hanging out. So this is what I did to it.